Welcome back to the Chattable podcast, where we learn real English in real life and have fun and be proud.
It is so wonderful to be back with you today. And we are doing a really fun episode today, navigating that tricky intersection between business English and casual conversation.
Right, because we usually keep those in totally separate boxes. But today our mission is taking phrases that sound like corporate speak and revealing how they are actually used by everyday people to express real emotion and stress and excitement.
Exactly. We have 3 specific phrases on the docket today that perfectly bridge that gap between Wall Street and Main Street.
I love it. So let's jump right into our very first phrase.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first one on our list is a word that I honestly hear all the time. But when you really stop and look at it, it's kind of strange. The word is zillions.
Zillions.
Yeah, zillions. And we have 2 examples from the source material to kick us off here. The first one is a headline about a tech giant, and it says, "The chip maker has made zillions of dollars from Apple."
Right, a very classic business headline.
And then the second one is about consumer habits. It says, "People have flocked to soda and sugary drinks by the zillions."
Those are excellent examples to start with because they really set the stage for the duality of this word.
Yeah, because whatever context it's used in, my immediate reaction is that it sounds sort of scientific, right?
It does.
It sounds like a real measurement. It has that distinct structure. But at the same time, it feels just massive. It feels overwhelming.
And that is absolutely the intended effect. But here's the very first thing we need to clear up, and this is crucial for anyone learning the language. Zillions is not a number you will ever find in a math textbook.
It sounds so official, though. Like it should come right after trillions and quadrillions.
I know.
But if I am doing my taxes, I can't just write zillions in the deduction box, can I?
Definitely not. If you were calculating the distance to the moon or, doing a corporate audit, you cannot use zillions. It is not a mathematical integer at all.
So it's a linguistic tool.
Exactly. It is a linguistic tool, not a numeric one.
So if it is not math, what is it? Is it just a made-up word they caught on?
In a sense, yes. It really emerged in the 20th century. Linguistically speaking, we classify this as an indefinite hyperbolic numeral.
Indefinite hyperbolic numeral.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it sound much smarter than just saying fake number.
It really does.
Oh, yeah.
But it describes exactly what the word is doing. It is indefinite, meaning we don't know the exact count, and it is hyperbolic, meaning it is an intentional exaggeration.
Right.
It is essentially a mashup.
A mashup of what exactly?
Well, think about the big numbers we do actually have in the standard numerical system. Millions, billions, trillions.
They all end in that illion sound.
Precisely. That suffix implies scale. It implies magnitude. So in the 20th century, speakers started looking for a way to express a number that was even bigger than those.
Or maybe just too big to bother counting.
Exactly. So they took the ending, illions, and just slapped a Z on the front.
And that is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. That is exactly what happened. And that Z is doing a massive amount of heavy lifting here. It is not just a random choice of a letter.
Let's unpack that. Why Z? Why not killions or fillions? Those would rhyme too.
Let's look at the phonetics for a second. The Z sound, it has a distinct buzz to it.
Zzz.
Right. It is a voiced fricative. It feels electric. When you say zillions, that sharp onset gives the word a feeling of infinity.
It feels faster.
It feels much faster and more energetic than a soft letter like M in millions.
That is so true. Millions sounds kind of smooth. Millions. It is almost gentle. But zillions sounds like it is vibrating.
Correct. And that vibration contributes to the sense of hyperbole. It emphasizes the sheer impossibility of the number.
It is like the linguistic equivalent of throwing your hands up in the air and saying too many to count.
Yes, it mimics the sound of a swarm or static electricity. It sounds busy.
It is interesting that you mentioned the 20th century because it feels like such a modern, energetic word. But it has been around for a bit.
It has, and its usage has split into these 2 fascinating directions we talked about in the intro. You have the business context and the everyday context.
Right, so in the business world, like that example about the chip maker making zillions from Apple, how is that actually being used? Because usually business news loves precision. They love their decimal points.
Usually they do. But in business journalism, zillions is used to describe unimaginable corporate wealth.
Okay.
When a company makes so much money that the specific number, whether it is 10 billion or 50 billion, almost stops mattering to the average reader.
So a journalist might swap in zillions.
Exactly. It conveys scale without needing a spreadsheet. It is shorthand for an astronomical amount.
It signals to the reader, Don't worry about the math. Just know that it is a dominant, crushing amount of cash.
Perfectly said. But, and here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners, regular people use this word too, and they aren't usually talking about their own profit margins.
Definitely not. In everyday life, Americans use zillions to exaggerate two main things: busyness and quantity. It is about the emotional weight of the number, not the actual count.
I feel this. I use this all the time.
It's not about precision, it's about stress, usually.
That is a great observation. It is often tied to stress or feeling overwhelmed. Let's actually look at the scenario provided in our source material. This is the dialogue between Sarah and David.
Okay, let's set the scene here. Sarah is trying to be social. She asks, hey, do you want to grab lunch and catch up? A very nice, normal invitation.
And look at how David responds. He says, I wish I could, but I have been in meetings all morning and I have a zillion emails to catch up on. Let's try for tomorrow.
A zillion emails. Now, let's be real. Does David actually have a zillion emails?
Unless David is a malfunctioning spam server, no. He does not literally have a zillion emails.
Right.
He might have 50. He might have 100. He might even have 200.
But if he said, I have 112 emails, it changes the vibe completely, doesn't it?
Completely. If he gives a specific number, it sounds like he has counted them. It sounds distinct and manageable, even if it is a high number.
It sounds like a task list. I have 112 things to do.
And that invites Sarah to say, okay, do 10 of them and then come to lunch.
Right. It leaves the door open for negotiation.
Exactly. But by using zillion, he isn't communicating a count. He is communicating a feeling.
He is saying, I am buried.
Yes. He is saying the amount of work I have is infinite and overwhelming. It justifies declining the lunch invitation much more effectively than a specific number ever would.
Because it asks Sarah for empathy, not just scheduling understanding.
That is such a good point. It is a social tool. If I say I have a lot of emails, you might say, oh, just take a break.
But if I say I have a zillion, you know I am drowning.
It shuts down the negotiation entirely. It signals that the speaker is at absolute maximum capacity. It creates a boundary that says, I cannot take on one more thing right now.
And we see this with other things too, right? Like in parenting. I have told you a zillion times to clean your room.
Exactly. I have told you 3 times implies you are counting and keeping score. I've told you a zillion times implies exasperation.
It implies that the repetition has become infinite.
It elevates the complaint to a level of absurdity to show how frustrated you actually are.
So for our listeners, the key takeaway here is, don't be afraid to use this word, even though it sounds like a cartoon number. It is actually a very native way to express that things are just too much.
Precisely. It allows you to step away from being literal and step into being expressive. It adds color to your English. It takes a boring situation like having too much work and gives it a sense of scale.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of color and maybe a darker shade of color, let's move on to our next phrase. This one sounds a lot more serious on the surface.
It does. This is a phrase that comes straight from the financial reports. The phrase is, eat into profit margins.
Oof. Just saying profit margins makes me feel like I need to put on a tie and grab a calculator. It feels very stiff.
It is quintessential business jargon. It completely belongs in the boardroom.
Let's look at the example from the source. The rising costs as a result of inflation are really eating into the company's profit margins.
Okay, so let's deconstruct this. We have to look at the two halves of this phrase because they are doing very different things.
First half, profit margins.
Right, profit margins. This is strictly business. It refers to the money a company keeps after it has paid all its expenses.
The lifeblood of a business.
Exactly. You want your margins to be fat and healthy. It represents safety and stability.
Got it. So that is the technical part, but then we have the action part, eat into.
And this is where the magic happens. Eat into is a highly visual, colloquial metaphor. It takes a boring financial concept, losing money, and turns it into a physical, almost biological image.
The source material gives us a very specific image for this. It says to imagine a caterpillar slowly eating a leaf from the outside in.
I absolutely love that visualization. Think about it. You have a nice, green, whole leaf.
That is your profit. That is your perfectly executed plan.
Then something comes along, a caterpillar, or in the business case, inflation or rising costs, and it takes a bite. Then another bite.
And the leaf gets smaller and smaller.
Exactly. It is not that the leaf disappears instantly. It is being consumed over time.
That is what eating into conveys.
It is a gradual, steady consumption of a resource.
It feels invasive. Like expenses sounds neutral, but eating into sounds like an attack.
It implies a violation of sorts. Something that is yours is being taken away, bit by bit. In the business context, rising costs are the predator and the profits are the prey.
And there's something spooky about that outside-in idea. You watch the edges disappear first.
Right. And in business, the margin is literally the edge. It is the buffer.
Yep.
So when you eat into the margin, you are eroding the safety zone.
So how do we take this very corporate caterpillar chomping concept and use it in real life? Because I don't have profit margins. I have a bank account, but I don't issue a quarterly report.
Most of us don't. But English learners and native speakers can and should detach eat into from the business context completely.
You can apply it to almost any finite resource you possess.
Give me some examples. What can be eaten into?
Your free time, your weekends, your energy, your patience, and of course, your personal savings.
Oh, eating into my weekend. I feel that one. Like when you have chores to do on a Saturday morning.
Exactly. You wake up, you have the whole leaf of the weekend ahead of you, 2 full days. But then laundry takes 2 hours.
That eats into your Saturday.
Then you have to go to the grocery store. That eats into it further. Before you know it, the resource is completely consumed.
It is so much more descriptive than just saying, I spent time on laundry.
Spent implies a transaction you chose. It implies agency. Eat into implies a loss you maybe didn't want.
It implies that the resource was meant for something else, like relaxing, but it was consumed by the chores.
That distinction is huge. Spent versus eat into. One is voluntary, one feels like a loss.
Let's look at the scenario provided because it perfectly illustrates this feeling of loss. We have Leo and Maria.
Right. Leo asks, are you still planning to go to Europe this summer? Great question. We all want to go to Europe.
And Maria's response is quite sad. She says, I think I have to postpone. My car broke down last month and paying for the repairs really ate into my travel savings.
Oh, poor Maria. That is relatable, though.
It is a classic situation. She had a leaf, her travel savings. It was set aside for a specific happy purpose.
It was protected money.
And then the car broke down.
The repair bill was the caterpillar.
It took a bite out of that specific pile of money. Note that she didn't just say, I spent my money on the car. She said it ate into her travel savings.
That really emphasizes the consequence, doesn't it?
It does. It tells Leo not just that she paid for the car, but that paying for the car destroyed her ability to do the other thing.
The money was consumed from the inside of her budget. It highlights the opportunity cost.
It adds this layer of emotional weight. It is not just math. It is pure disappointment.
Precisely. Eat into almost always carries a negative connotation. You rarely have something good eat into something bad.
You wouldn't say, winning the lottery ate into my debt.
You would say you paid off your debt. Eat into his reserve for the loss of something you wanted to keep.
That is a fascinating rule of thumb. It is about the depletion of a valued resource.
Yes. So if you are at work and a meeting runs late, you can say, this meeting is eating into my lunch break.
Or this commute is eating into my sleep.
Perfect. It communicates, I have a limited amount of this good thing and this bad thing is taking it away.
It creates a real sense of scarcity.
Man, English is dramatic sometimes. We love to play the victim with our grammar.
It really is. Metaphors allow us to be dramatic. They allow us to express frustration without explicitly saying, I am frustrated.
By describing the mechanism of the loss, the eating, we express the pain of it.
Exactly. So we have had zillions for overwhelming abundance and eat into for painful loss. Let's swing the pendulum back a bit for our third phrase. This one feels a bit heavier, physically speaking.
It does. Our third phrase is load up on.
Load up on. The example from the business world here is, for more than 10 years, the website loaded up billions of dollars in debt.
Heavy.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly burdensome. Loaded up billions of dollars in debt. It sounds like a sinking ship.
That image of the ship is actually perfect because that is where the origin of this phrase lies.
Really? It is nautical.
It is transportation and logistics. Paint a picture in your mind of physical labor. Imagine the docks.
Imagine a massive cargo ship or a freight train or a semi-truck.
Okay, I am picturing it. Guys in hard hats, cranes, boxes, massive shipping containers.
Right. You are loading the cargo. You are placing heavy items onto a vehicle to transport them. That is the core verb, to load.
It implies weight. It implies serious effort.
But the phrase isn't just load, it is load up on.
And that preposition on is the critical shift.
If I say I am loading the truck, I am just doing a job. I am moving boxes. But if I say I am loading up on something, the meaning shifts from transport to acquisition.
Oh, interesting. It becomes about stocking up.
Yes. It implies aggressive accumulation. You aren't just taking one or two things. You are taking a lot.
You are filling the container to the brim. It implies that you are taking as much as you possibly can.
So in the business example, loading up on debt, it means the company kept taking on more and more and more debt until they were totally full of it.
Exactly. And in business, as you noted, that is usually negative. You don't want to load up on debt.
You might want to load up on inventory if you expect big sales, but generally, loading up in business implies a heavy burden, a real risk.
And this is the fun part, regular people use this phrase all the time, and it is usually not about debt.
It is about preparation. It is about strategy.
Yes, in daily life, loading up on debt is a proactive move. It is something we do before a big event.
The source gives some great examples here. Loading up on carbohydrates before running a marathon.
Right, the famous carb load. You are filling your body's fuel tank because you know you have a long journey ahead.
You aren't just eating a bagel. You are loading up. You are strategically over-consuming.
Or loading up on sleep before a big exam.
Which scientifically is hard to do, but we say it anyway. I am going to sleep for 12 hours because tomorrow is going to be impossible.
It is an attempt to bank a resource.
Or loading up on warm clothes before going out into the snow.
That is a literal layering. You are piling clothes onto your body. Again, it is preparation for a hostile environment.
You are armoring yourself.
I really like this phrase because it feels proactive. Zillions was reactive, I have too much.
Feed into was reactive, I lost something.
But load up on feels like, I am getting ready, I am taking action.
That is a brilliant distinction. It implies agency. You are choosing to gather these resources because you anticipate a need.
You are looking at the future and saying, I need more of this.
Let's look at the scenario because this one is super relatable. We have Chloe and Sam.
Chloe says, we have a 6-hour drive ahead of us for this road trip.
6 hours. That is a solid drive. You need supplies. You cannot survive 6 hours on just enthusiasm.
And Sam knows this. Sam says, I know I'm going to run into the gas station real quick to load up on snacks, iced coffee, and a few magazines so we don't get bored.
Load up on snacks. I love that imagery. He is not just going in to buy a candy bar.
No. Load up on implies abundance. He is going to come out of that gas station with his arms full. Chips, pretzels, coffee, maybe some gummy bears.
He is stocking the car like it is a pantry.
It implies that the quantity is necessary for the survival of the trip.
Exactly. Just like the ship needs fuel, Sam and Chloe need snacks.
And notice the contrast with the business example. In the business example, loading up on debt was a trap. It was heavy.
Here, loading up on snacks is joyful. It is comforting.
It prevents boredom. It prevents hunger. It turns the car into a sanctuary of treats.
It transforms the heavy cargo origin of the word into something that feels like a reward. You load up on the good stuff so you can get through the hard stuff, which is the drive.
It really paints a picture of the person carrying a lot of stuff. If Sam just said, I am going to buy snacks, it is neutral.
Load up on snacks makes me picture him juggling 3 bags of chips and a tray of coffees.
It visualizes the volume, and again, it brings that energy of the marketplace or the dockyard into the gas station.
It is a very dynamic phrase. It is about seizing resources.
So if you are at a buffet, you can load up on shrimp.
Please do. I am going to load up on dessert. It signals intent and volume.
It says, I am not here to taste, I am here to acquire.
So we have got 3 very different vibes here, but they all fit into this theme of business concepts turning into life concepts.
We do. We started with Zillions.
The playful exaggeration, the buzzy, infinite sound that turns a boring number into a feeling of being overwhelmed or incredibly busy.
It is the sound of the swarm.
Then we went to eat into profit margins or just eat into...
The visual metaphor of the caterpillar. The painful, gradual loss of a precious resource like time or savings.
It is the language of scarcity and loss.
And finally, load up on.
The logistical phrase turned personal strategy, gathering an abundance of resources, whether it is snacks or sleep, to prepare for what is ahead.
It is the language of preparation and agency.
What I love about all 3 of these is that they all deal with quantity in some way.
That is the common thread. They are all about amount.
Zillions is an uncountable amount. Eat into is a decreasing amount. Load up on is an increasing amount.
But they take that dry concept of amount and make it human. They make it relatable.
Exactly. Business English often tries to be sterile and objective. Profit margins decreased by 10%. Inventory increased.
But real life isn't sterile. Real life is messy and emotional.
We don't just decrease, we get eaten into.
We don't just have many tasks. We have zillions.
And we don't just buy food. We load up.
By using these phrases, you aren't just conveying information, you are conveying your state of mind.
You are telling people how you feel about the information. And that is what true fluency looks like. It is about emotional transmission.
That is such a great takeaway. It is not just about the words, it is about the vibe.
Always.
So as we wrap up this episode, we want to leave you with a little challenge, a provocative thought, if you will.
We have talked about how business terms creep into real life, but I want you to flip that lens around. Pay attention to your own life this week. Notice when you are using business logic in your personal world.
What do you mean by that?
Ask yourself, are you loading up on the wrong things? Are you loading up on stress? Are you loading up on anxiety?
Sometimes we accumulate bad things just as aggressively as we accumulate snacks.
Oh, that is deep. We hoard the stress like it is cargo.
And ask yourself, what is eating into your happiness? Is social media eating into your sleep?
Is worry eating into your presence with your family? Identify the caterpillars in your life.
Treat your life like the business and protect your profit margins.
Your happiness margins, exactly. Audit your life.
I love that. A little philosophical audit to end the show.
Why not? Language is just a mirror for how we live.
Well, thank you all for joining us for this episode of Chattable. We hope you learned a zillion new things.
I see what you did there.
And that we didn't eat into too much of your day.
Go load up on some knowledge, everyone.
See you next time.
Goodbye.